Thank you for joining us for an episode on Litera TV. Today, our topic is on how Wilson Sonsini's Innovation Officer is improving deal processes through successful adoption of Litera Transact and DocuSign. Today, we have several speakers here, and I'd like to let them introduce themselves. We'll start with David Wang. David, could you give us a brief introduction?
Yeah, happy to. Hi, everybody. David Wang. I am Chief Innovation Officer for Wilson Sonsini. I oversee our technology strategy at the firm, implementation of new and innovative ways to change our practice and our internal development processes as well. Good to be with everyone today.
Perfect. I can go next here. Hi, everyone. My name is Charlotte Thompson, and I am the account executive here for the DocuSign legal team, and I help oversee our relationship with David and everyone else at Wilson Sonsini. It's nice to be here.
Wonderful. I'll go ahead and jump in. It's good to talk to you guys today, and excited to join another episode of Litera TV. My name is Vincent McKetty. I am on the transaction advisor team at Litera. So I help our clients to really leverage the platform, apply it to their practices, and ultimately, hopefully, toward David's end, create innovative practices and to help our clients provide innovative solutions to their clients.
I'm super excited to kick this session off today with an announcement of our 5-year partnership between Litera Transact, formerly Doxly, and DocuSign. And we have over 30 customers leveraging the integration today. Of those, 20% of them are in the top global 50 firms around the world and across 15 different countries. And so today, David Wang is one of those customers, and we would just like to jump into a fireside chat style conversation just to get some more information on how David is applying innovation to the practices at his firm and the benefits that they're receiving from those applied technologies. So Charlotte, I'm going to pass the mic over to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Damien. All right, to kind of help kick off this fireside chat, David, just a few questions for you on my side. And I know you briefly touched on this in your introduction, but I was very, very focused on just introducing myself and what to say in those 5 seconds. But what is your primary focus as the Chief Innovation Officer at Wilson Sonsini?
Yeah, so, in the introduction, I touched on, what I do functionally, but maybe more appropriate, I can talk about conceptually what I work on, right? And there's 3 areas that we think are very important in legal innovation, and that's digitization, automation, artificial intelligence, and analytics, right? So those are the 3 things that I'm focused on from a business perspective. Right. And so in this particular instance, we're talking about the digitization of the signature process, right? Going from paper to digital signatures like DocuSign, and then, what I call a general business software. And then with Litera, taking it one step further to, I call it kind of the next stage, right? Which is a kind of function specific software, right? To deliver a general business purpose digitization for a very specific purpose, which is transaction signatures.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fantastic. And, I know from the role of a Chief Innovation Officer, you oversee quite a bit from what you just explained, but looking back at your history, not only with Wilson Sonsini, but just your time in the field of law, could you tell us a little bit about your time when you were a practicing transactional attorney, and what were some of the pain points or challenges that you faced that led you to use something like Litera and DocuSign?
Yeah, I mean, and at the risk of dating myself a little bit, more than 10 years of practicing corporate law. When I was a first-year associate, we still use accordions. I don't know if you guys are familiar with those. Like, you would literally, when you had a signature process for a deal, like, you would print out all the signature pages, and then you had these like middle scaffolds, and you would literally like label each one, and you would say, okay, this is the first person, this is the, and then like rearrange them so that they can be in the packet. And then you would take that stack of paper, you would scan it, and then you would send that email off to that person. And then when you come back, and then you would print that out again, and then reassemble them in a different second accordion into the proper documents for the signature page, and then rescan that entire thing back into the closing volume. So that's kind of my first experience with closing when I started practicing. And since then, I think, at least in the United States and the UK, most folks have moved towards accepting digital signatures, even though we still get the occasional folks, and apologies, West Coast, Best Coast, on the East Coast, who do not accept digital signatures. But, I think gladly we're moving beyond that process where you get rid of that manual, no value labor work with DocuSign of having that signature delivered digitally. And then Litera takes it one step further by helping with the accordion process of orchestrating those signatures in a transaction.
Perfect. Thank you for explaining. And yes, we did do a little bit of LinkedIn stalking on you as well prior to this. So we appreciate you dating back. Damien, over to you.
Great. Yeah. So you just touched on how some of those processes that you experienced were very manual processes. And I know, with the adoption of this combined solution, could you share some of the use cases that are benefiting Wilson Sonsini's transactional practices today?
Yeah. So, we are obviously one of the largest technology firms and one of the largest transaction firms in the country. We do a lot of deals, right? And then every time you do a deal, there needs to be kind of a signature packet, and that process and keeping that record and doing it accurately and quickly is, of course, very important to us and our clients. And so by automating that process, you're not only reducing manual errors that can occur, but making the process faster, right? And then, making the oversight of that process easier because, you're kind of seeing things happen in real time, and multiple members of the team can see kind of the status of signatures across kind of a range of behaviors. And so that just helps make the entire process better, even beyond the efficiency gains that are kind of most people see as the most important value proposition, but there's certainly more there.
Great. And when Wilson Sonsini was considering adopting a solution like this, I know that they did some considerable ROI analysis before rolling it out, at least practice-wide, I think is the appropriate term there. Could you share some insight into that process and what you guys found?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely an iterative process, and still ongoing, right? As we continue to evaluate, what we're getting uptake on, and this is something I think I'm guessing most of the people in the audience that are viewing this probably are, in similar shoes. And a very common problem in legal departments as well as law firms in adopting new technology is that it's very hard to determine what the ROI is, because there's a kind of chicken and egg problem in that if you don't have adoption, you cannot measure the ROI, and without the measurement of ROI, you cannot get adoption or maybe even justify the purchase to begin with. And so, we kind of benefited from working with Doxley at the time very early. Haley and I are good friends, and she also used to be a former Wilson attorney, right? And so that helped, right, to get through the door. And so we were essentially able to start piloting at a very low cost in that early stage, and based on some of that trust from that relationship and her credentials, specifically with us. And with that rolling, as we gotten more initial adoption, right, we were able to look at a small sample size and kind of see, using some of the analytics techniques that we have internally, that separating out a specific stage of the transaction and looking at kind of the interactions with the tool and A/B testing in similar circumstances, that there might be something there. And so based on that, then we gradually rolled out to kind of bigger rollouts and concurrent adoption drives. And then so it is an ongoing process where we are rolling out further, measuring with the assistance of the Litera team, and then continuously evaluating whether further rollouts are justified.
All right. David, could you share an example or a few examples of how you've received value or just the overall benefits of this partnership?
Yeah, sure. I'll just give an example. So we were the first firm to attempt using Litera Transact on an IPO, as one of the leading capital markets firms in the country. And for that, I think we collected several thousand signatures as part of an IPO lockup process. And, it was one of those situations that was kind of like forced innovation, because we needed to come up with a solution for a pressing client deadline that was otherwise incredibly hard to manage. And so one of our innovation leads kind of took it upon himself to try to handle that. And so we helped him carry that out on Litera Transact, which required a lot of duct taping and a lot of support on all sides. And so we were able to collect thousands of signatures in a matter of days and keep that organized through the process, while significantly reducing the amount of time and the effort that would have been required. In fact, I hazard to guess that it would probably have been impossible without putting people through 24-hour rotations to execute that otherwise. So that's an example where, if you're trying to do even bigger and more challenging things, it's sometimes not even possible without the aid of better technology.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And to follow up on that, would you say that the technologies allowed you to differentiate your firm and be competitive?
Yeah, I think jury's still out. I think the most important thing for us is to kind of deliver better services for our clients. And when we do that well, the way in which it's delivered kind of fades into the background. Mm-hmm. So what I hope is that in the aggregate, our clients are receiving faster, more efficient services, and that's where the differentiation comes from. But, I'm looking forward to seeing and parsing out more the specific impact of, Litera as well as any other particular technology. But I don't have enough data to make a call right now, but we are working on that.
Wonderful.
Great. And David, I know that Wilson serves some of the coolest, most innovative clients around the world, and they're doing some really sophisticated work. I'm just wondering if the technologies are helping you to better serve those clients that might have higher expectations from their law firm.
Yeah, I think that our client set is relatively unique in that they are expecting from the world's premier technology law firm a certain level of technological sophistication, right? And so when you send them, a stack of paper, they kind of go like, what are you doing, right? And DocuSign, I think, is already kind of just expected where we live, and so. In order to serve them better than DocuSign, which, hopefully everybody has adopted, then you kind of have to go one step further. And so we are constantly looking at how to go even further to serve those clients better. And, technology is one of the areas that we think is most promising.
All right. Before handing it over to Vincent, one last question for you, David. Are there any words of advice you would like to provide to other firms who may be considering Litera Transact with DocuSign?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things, but I think probably the most important thing is that you need to have, how do I put this, change readiness within your ranks and the proper infrastructure and leadership in place to make that happen, right? And that's something that we have I developed at Wilson Sonsini, we have this program called the Innovator Leaders Forum, right, where we have kind of these grassroots attorneys and paralegals who are on the ground and who are very interested in innovation, and they tend to take the lead in a lot of these projects in coordination with the firm. And I cannot, stress how instrumental those people are in actually creating successful adoption. Because, for someone like me to kind of blast out to say, hey, do this, it's not actually nearly as powerful as, kind of your person down the office line telling you, hey, this worked for me, we should do this, and I want to give a particular shout out to Dave Brecky, an associate that used to work here, who's now in another firm, who was instrumental in that. And he was one of our innovation leads, and he helped us take that forward and took a real leadership role in it. And there are many others who are driving that effort continuously still at the firm. So I want to thank them with this opportunity.
Wonderful. Thank you, David. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. So now we will pass the mic over to Vincent, who will be giving a brief demonstration of this combined solution. So Vincent, take it away.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And David, I love the phrase change readiness. It's something that I think sometimes I struggle to articulate. So I'm definitely stealing that. As we continue to think about, how do we implement change? How do we implement innovation? So I believe that we're going to dive into some technology today and actually talk about how this platform tangibly works, right? What the interaction between Litera Transact and DocuSign really looks like, so that the folks who are watching can start to understand what it is that David and Charlotte and Damien are talking about today. So I do want to provide just a little bit of base level context for folks who have never heard about Litera Transact before. So Litera Transact is a transaction management platform that helps our clients, law firms, to better serve their clients, right? In order to make the process of managing a deal less chaotic, we want to provide tools that help to accomplish those objectives. So there's lots of things that Transact can do that we typically divide into three kind of buckets. Things around checklist management or data room management, things around signature management, which is what we're going to spend time on today, and things around closing book management, right? And really automating some of those processes, but also just removing the risk and the pain and the chaos that's typically associated with managing a deal. So this is Litera Transact. You'll notice that when you log in, you can create a new deal. You can select deals that you've used in the past. I am going to start by clicking into the signatures functionality, because that's really what we want to focus on today. Now, as it relates to signatures, there's typically very manual processes associated with the generation of signature pages, tracking signature pages, and then ultimately getting those signed, collected, returned, collated, right? All these really challenging and maybe in a facetious way, wonderful things that some poor paralegal or junior associate or senior associate or sometimes partner is responsible for doing. So what can we really help with? Well, in Litera Transact, you'll notice, first off, we can get rid of all of the manual tracking, right? So when we send our signature packets out for execution, and we send those for execution via DocuSign because we're no longer couriering big, giant packets of documents, we get those back and we still need to just indicate, right, typically on an Excel sheet, whether or not things have been signed. There's some level of manual management once those documents come back to us, right? So we get rid of the need to print and sign and scan, all those challenges associated with manual execution, but there's still some level of kind of governance and reporting. And that's the first thing that we can help to automate here. So you'll notice that once I've sent signature packets via DocuSign, I can see whether or not those packets have been opened. I can see whether or not those packets have been signed. If I haven't sent a signature packet, that's indicated in here as well. And ultimately what this means is that as maybe the junior associate who's responsible for chasing signers down, I no longer have to, go through my email inbox and try to identify who's signed what. I can just quickly see this automatically updated grid. Now, the other thing that I want to mention here is that Transact, in addition to this tracking, lets us automate the generation of signature pages and the bundling of those pages. So we're going to back up just a little bit. We're going to click into blocks, and we're going to add a signer to our deal. Now, maybe I have someone new who's signing on behalf of the purchaser company. We'll go ahead and click Add to Signer. I'm going to add an individual. I can gather their information. And I can now start to add this signer to different documents that need to be executed as part of this deal. So we're going to go ahead and move into Pages. Select the new document that I want this person to be signing. And then we can quickly add that signer. Or you'll notice they're automatically added if their signature group is signing that document. So we've just gone through, we've added this signer, John Doe, and we can quickly see that signature pages for this person have been automatically generated, right? So we added that signer. We can see him right here, and we can go through and extract that signature packet or generate it. Now, that automatic signature page generation is great, but the other really important thing that happens is when we automatically generate signature pages, the DocuSign tabs for that signature page are automatically placed, which means as the user, I don't need to go through and upload that signature packet to DocuSign and place the DocuSign tabs. That happens for me, right? So we add a signer, we tell the platform what they sign, and then maybe I'm ready to send that signature packet. Sending signature packets in Transact via DocuSign is as simple as selecting the DocuSign toggle for that document, clicking Send Signature Packet, indicating what it is that I want to include in that signature packet, and then clicking Send. Now, from the signer's perspective, they get the DocuSign experience that they know and love, right? As David was saying earlier, DocuSign is table stakes. Many of our clients will expect it. And as a result, we wanted to make sure that the experience was very similar to what they may have had in the past when they signed documents via DocuSign. So you'll notice I've just received my signature email. I can click Review and Sign. And just like that, I have the ability to go through and sign these 7 signature pages. So again, we can go through, automatically generate our signature pages. We can send signature pages. We can get those signature pages back. We can automatically sort them and collate them, all while tracking that signature status. I'll go through and quickly sign this just to show off the DocuSign UI, which I personally absolutely love. Click Finish. And just like that, the signer's done. When we click back into the signature tracker, we can see that that signature packet that we just signed is now being reported as signed. So that is the DocuSign integration with Litera Transact, right? Not only are we able to facilitate the DocuSign experience that most of our signers know and love, we can make sure that we're not executing things manually, but we can also automatically track, generate, collate those signature pages and packets. And with that, I will hand it back to our wonderful host.
Awesome. Well, Vincent, thank you so much for giving that demonstration to give people an idea of how this solution works. I know we were only able to cover a few of the highlights there. There's a lot of expanded functionality as well that allows people to use that integration in different ways. So thank you for showing that. We really appreciate it. It has been an absolute pleasure speaking to all of you today. David, thank you for coming on. Charlotte, thank you to you and your team for being such great partners. I really appreciate all of you.